Hello, the subject of today's video is modalism, and does Isaiah 9:5 teach modalism when it calls Jesus Eternal Father? Okay, so here's Isaiah chapter 9, and let's go straight to verse 5. It says, "For a child is born unto us, a son is given to us, and the government is upon his shoulder, and his name is called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace." So those are his names. And the contention is with this particular one, Avi Ad, or Father until, or Father forever, or Eternal Father, or however you want to translate it. Father of eternity, Father of the age to come. And so it's held by modalists that this is a revelation that Jesus is God the Father. But is that necessarily found right here? I would say no. I would say that the title Eternal Father has nothing to do with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's simply a title of authority. And why do I say this? Well, first of all, it says the government is upon his shoulder, and his name is called Wonderful Counselor. Counselor is an authority figure. Mighty God. Mighty God itself can be an authority figure because the word El, as you can see here, or Ale actually, can be an expression for a judge or an expression for some other type of authority. And then he has also for a mighty man. But anyway, and the word Father itself can be, and I'll go to that later. And Prince, of course, Prince or Tsar, is also a title of authority. It's an authority figure. And then verse 6 goes on to say, well, this is according to this Jewish edition, the verse numberings, by the way. Anyway, it goes on and say the authority or the government may be that the government may be increased, and the peace there be no end upon the throne of David, upon whom the kingdom, upon his kingdom, to establish it, to uphold it through justice and righteousness from thenceforth even forever. So you see a reference to the government or authority and to the throne of David and the kingdom, all references to authority. Now, as far as this father term goes, there's another place in Isaiah where also uses a similar expression for an authority figure. We go to Isaiah 22, we go to Eliakim. He was sort of made King David's, or sort of like the prime minister. We see in verse, I believe it's around 20, right here, it says, and then it came to pass in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and I will clothe him with thy robe, and bind him with thy girdle. I will commit thy government into his hands. Notice it says the government into his hands. And he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of David. So it's saying, right after he makes him an authority figure, giving him the government, he will be a father to Jerusalem and Judah. So that shows that Isaiah does have this idea in mind when it calls him father. And also we see also in Genesis 45 verse 8, we see right here, Genesis 45 verse 8, it's talking about Joseph speaking, and he says, saying that God has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord over all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. So he was a father to Pharaoh. He was one of Pharaoh's advisors, and he held great authority in those days. But let's go back to Isaiah 9:5. So is it reasonable to say that Father here, Eternal Father, is just an expression of authority? I would think so. It's talking about the new covenant. And the new covenant, Jesus will be the Eternal Father. That is the authority figure, the everlasting authority figure. The covenant will have no end, and he's essentially the king. He is the king of the Israel, the new covenant, and so forth. It's really has nothing to do with referring to him as a like God the Father in the sense of the Trinity, just an expression of authority, just as the surrounding uh, verse and the subsequent verse state. They're just terms of authority. Anyway, this is Brother Selassie, the Orthodox Catholic. God bless.